Every town has its boogeyman. A story passed down in whispers around campfires, warning curious kids to stay out of the woods. But on Staten Island, New York, the legend of Cropsey wasn't just a story. It was a nightmare hiding in plain sight. For generations, parents warned their children about Cropsey, a hook-handed madman who lurked in the ruins of the Willowbrook State School. But what began as a campfire tale soon collided with a chilling reality. Missing children, a real-life killer, and a mental institution so horrific, it became the stuff of nightmares. The legend of Cropsey has many versions. Some say he was a vengeful farmer who murdered trespassers. Others claim he was an escaped mental patient, deformed and deranged. But the most haunting version ties him to the Willowbrook State School, a place so infamous, even its name evokes dread. In the 1970s and 80s, Staten Island was a community on edge. Parents swapped stories of a man stalking the woods near Willowbrook. Kids dared each other to approach the asylum's ruins. But when real children began disappearing, the legend took a sinister turn. Opened in 1947, Willowbrook was meant to care for children with disabilities. Instead, it became a hellscape. Overcrowded wards reeked of urine and rot. Children were left naked, starving, and abused. Staff used restraints and experimental drugs to control them. In 1972, investigative journalist Geraldo Rivera infiltrated Willowbrook, exposing its horrors to the world. He said that, "This is the reality of Willowbrook, a human dumping ground." The public outcry forced Willowbrook to close in 1987, but its decaying buildings remained, a grim monument to suffering. And soon, the woods around it would become a hunting ground. Authorities are searching for 12-year-old Jennifer Schweiger, last seen near the Willowbrook site. Between 1972 and 1987, 5 children vanished near Willowbrook. Jennifer Schweiger, a girl with Down syndrome, was one of them. Her body was found buried in a shallow grave just months after the asylum closed. Panic gripped Staten Island. Parents asked, was Cropsey real? The police had a suspect, Andre Rand, a former Willowbrook worker turned homeless drifter. Rand had a history of kidnapping and was spotted lurking near the asylum. His campsite, littered with children's toys, became the focus of the investigation. Rand wasn't just some figment of imagination. He was calculated. He preyed on vulnerable kids society had already forgotten. In 1987, Rand was arrested and charged with Jennifer Schweiger's murder. Later, he was linked to the disappearance of 4-year-old Holly Ann Hughes. Though convicted in 2 cases, rumors swirled. Was Rand part of a larger network? Did Willowbrook's culture of abuse create monsters? Andre Rand called himself Cropsey in letters. He embraced the legend, feeding the fear. Today, Willowbrook's buildings are crumbling, but the terror remains. Urban explorers share eerie photos online, and locals still avoid the woods after dark. Yet the true horror isn't a hook-handed killer. It's the reality that birthed him. Legends like Cropsey emerge when society fails its most vulnerable. Willowbrook's victims were ignored for decades. Their pain became a ghost story. The story of Cropsey forces us to ask, who are the real monsters? The ones hiding in the shadows, or the ones who let darkness thrive in broad daylight?